Joe 200. All right, it's Sunday evening, September 19th, and we're going to jump right into our weekly assignments. So I have my co-instructor, best friend, and wife with me too, Julia, which is awesome, the better half by far. And just a reminder, the first little reading assignment, okay, critical thinking assignment 1 is due. Everything you need to know in terms of getting this assignment done is, I clicked on the link, is right in here, okay? So it tells you, step by step what you need to do, okay? There's actually a YouTube video where I did it for you. So if you click on that, it takes you right to the video. It's coming up, and there I go, all right? And it takes you step by step with what you have to do, all right? Which is awesome, okay? There I am, see, doing my thing. Just to let you know, okay? Now, we're not gonna watch that because that is really up to you, okay? Boom, all right, so that's what's due, all right? We are, and again, as you look through it down here, don't forget there's a rubric, and that's what we're looking for, so just make sure you check all the boxes. Easy peasy. 2 to 3 pages, right, Julia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go over the page limit if you need to. We're not strict about page limits.
Okay, very cool. All right, let's jump right into our weekly assignments. Okay, all right, so I clicked on that. We'll scroll on down. It's amazing. Look at how far along. We did the theories of aging, and now we're going to get into something that is directly linked to our theories of aging concepts. So we kind of set the table for you. I'll give you just a little background. So you guys heard all about the free radical theory of aging, and we all take our acai berry juice and our different types of antioxidant remedies. And a big part of that is oxidation. Abnormal oxidation can cause mutations in your DNA, all right? So that relates our theory of aging directly to this assignment on cancer we're going to talk about. There are other aspects of the theories of aging. There's a whole field of study that looks at overnutrition and obesity. And if you remember when we did the theories of aging, they talked about this hormone that gets elevated during overnutrition called IGF-1. And IGF-1, Julia will talk about later on, it is part of the gas pedal that is go, go, go for cell division. And so that's a bad thing. All right, so that's just a couple of these theories of aging that relate to our topic.
And we talked about telomeres.
Telomeres as well, exactly.
That's something that pops up with cancer as well.
In fact, one of the big mutations, cancer is very, very nefarious. And so you get a mutation that increases the cell division rate by 1,000-fold, okay? And we'll talk about that. These are called oncogenes. But to keep the cancer going, then oftentimes it'll create multiple mutations. Julia will talk about the other one, which puts the brakes on cell division and it improves DNA repair and gets rid of the bad cells. We talked about it in the theories of aging. It's called P53. It's a tumor suppressor gene, and oftentimes you'll have a mutation in that as well, so you can't suppress the tumor. You have the oncogene going go go, and then like she talked about, and then lo and behold, there's a gene called telomerase that is a very common mutation that keeps putting more and more of those telomeres, making them longer and longer on the ends of the chromosomes, and then that allows the cell to divide a lot more quickly. All right, cool. All right, so let's go in here, okay? And oh yeah, just a little side. See, I got my war paint on here, so
so he doesn't get melanoma.
That's right. So I went surfing today. I always go surfing. So I just came back from surfing, and you know what I saw? Okay, this happens all the time. I saw it on Friday, and today, about 30 feet in front of me, I see. Let's see if this thing's gonna go here. I saw one of these. Yes, I did. And watch how fast this guy is. There he goes. They are crazy animals. So yeah, so what happened with me was, come on,
we're just gonna watch it forever.
No, I gotta get out of here. So all right, and guess what? We have to start off.
Oh no, we don't.
There, okay. There, I'm out. We have to start over. We're not starting over. But what happened to me, it's called breaching, and I'm piling out to meet the wave that's coming in. It's about, I don't know, 30, 40 feet in front of me, and the 6 to 8 foot shark breaches out the back, head to tail. It's crazy. Everybody skedaddled. All right.
So I'm going to bring it back to our topic.
Yes.
We're all really afraid of sharks, right? We're very afraid of sharks, but your odds of getting cancer during your lifetime, depending on whether you're male or female, is 1 in 2 or 1 in 3. your odds of being bitten by a shark are like
1 in 1 million.
1 in 1 million. We don't even think about cancer for most of our lives. And I think that education, and here's my dog, she had cancer. Let's see, come here. She had cancer about a year or two ago. She's doing really, really good because she was treated surgically and everything's fine. So anyway, so we don't think about, she's going to make dog sounds in the background.
Right. She wants to go swimming.
We don't think about the actual risk of getting cancer when we're young, and that's fine. Cancer tends to be a disease of older people. Your risk goes up in most cases as you get older. I always ask John if I can sit in on this lecture because I'm a cancer patient, so I'm really passionate about cancer education and preventing cancer and dealing with a cancer diagnosis and getting the best care that you can if you are or a family member is diagnosed.
Watch, I'll do this right here just to show you cancer. A function of H. Boom. Okay, so we'll just do that, and we'll do an image, and there it is right there.
It goes up.
All right, so there's your likelihood of cancer.
And you guys are in the little part, okay?
Yes, this is you. So you see,
feel good about that
as a function of age. But you all want to live to your 90, and like she said, you have. I mean, think about that: 50-50 shot of getting cancer in lifetime, and you're dealing with obviously, there's a good chance of be dealing with this with your family members, your parents and your grandparents, okay? And why does it go up with age? Guess what happens? You accumulate mutations over time, more and more mutations, and your ability to get rid of that bad DNA goes down as you age as well. So thank you, Julia, for that.
Okay.
All right, very
cool. Just to add, every semester we have students who either have had a cancer diagnosis in the past or are going through a potential diagnosis or an actual diagnosis right now. If that's happening to you, we're here to support you. We can certainly relate to what you're going through. Like I said, I'm a cancer patient. I've been a cancer patient since 2013.
So she was in partial remission. She has what's called chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which means her immune system is cancerous, which means when you get infections, instead of being able to mount this defense through massive purposeful cell division to fight off the virus or the bacteria, she has cancerous immune cells that don't do the right thing. They divide, but they don't fight anything off. That's why she's super vulnerable for the Rona. Okay?
I'm a mask wearer always, and
so,
John and I were talking the other day. It looks like our testing positive rate is really low at USC.
Which is great. You guys are doing a good job.
There's a possibility that at some point this semester we won't have to get tested anymore, which would be awesome. So you don't have to stand in those lines. But I said to John, I'm still going to wear a mask.
Because here's a wake-up call. So they, there's. You guys are getting exposed to data, and there's these worldwide consortiums of people that study chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And so they looked at, I don't know how many patients, but a lot of patients that were either in treatment or waiting to get treatment.
I think 4,000 or 5,000.
4,000 or 5,000 people. And guess what? Almost 40% death rate. For people that have chronic lymphocytic leukemia.
Who get infected with
COVID.
Yeah. So we try to avoid that.
That's why we have to be careful.
Try to avoid it, if at all possible.
So you're going to always going to see us with a mask.
Okay,
right?
So
what else? We're going to go right here.
Yes.
Okay. So we want you to show some curiosity. I'm not going to go in here and do this and navigate this. So there's great places in here to look at stuff. And then right here, this is where you navigate everything. This is the big one right here, where what is cancer, causes and prevention, diagnosis and staging, all this prognosis. You have your own cancers that mean, I just talked about lymphoma, which is hers. So maybe there's one that's, near and dear to your heart, leukemia. All right, so what you do is you just click on it, and then you see it goes through everything you need to know about, what is cancer, and this is the, the chromosomal mutational aspect of it, okay? And so just show some curiosity, okay? And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to read all this for you, but it's really the website that is cancer.gov is wonderful, right? Your turn.
Okay. So a lot of what we're talking about this week is cancer statistics and what we're seeing. And every year a report comes out called the SEER report, SEER, and it's the annual report to the nation at cancer.gov.
See it right here.
And it's a look backwards at cancer statistics so that we can, as a public health issue, look at, okay, are the cancer rates going down? Are they going up? how do men compare to women, how do different races and ethnicities compare to each other, how are children doing, where do we need to start, maybe spending more money on research and spending more money on prevention. And of course, the data is a little bit slow to come in, so it's always a few years behind. So what I tell people when you are diagnosed with cancer, the first thing you do is you go to Google and you start Googling your cancer. You're looking at old data. We're looking in the past. The advances that are happening right now are so rapid and so amazing. When I was diagnosed in 2013, I had like a 50-50 chance of making it 5 years. I'm 8 years out. I'm doing really well. I'm in a pretty good remission. And at this point, I'm just going to hopscotch from treatment to treatment periodically, not all the time, as I come in and out of remission, and potentially, in 5 years, 10 years, maybe they'll have a cure. So there's such rapid advances right now. It's really, we always say there's never a good time to have cancer, but now is the best time to have cancer compared to the past.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, what happened to the Saints today?
You know what?
See,
I'm very sad.
There we go.
I am very sad about the Saints, but if they had to lose, they lost to Sam Darnold, who is adorable.
Sam Darnold took GERO 200, just like
and
you guys.
He's a local guy. We live in Orange County. He's a local guy. And I know his family.
He was
so
very insightful.
I'm happy for Sam that he's with a good team.
And for our football team, I told you we would make this raging comeback. So that was awesome.
Fight on, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to cancer.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing is a trend where the cancer incidence rates in this most recent report have decreased every year for men, women, across the board. That's pretty good. We're happy about that, okay?
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to show, this right here, it's going to go here. What is incidence and what is prevalence?
Absolutely important.
Because this is how things are reporting. So morbidity is a sickness. So we could be talking about incidence of COVID-19. We're talking about incidence of cancer, okay? So this is the frequency of the number of persons in a population who become ill. It's the new cases, okay? That is the incidence. And I always think of like increase, okay? Versus sometimes you'll see prevalence, okay? And the prevalence is, it takes not only the new cases, but it adds it to all the cases that are happening at that moment in time. So like Julia would be part of prevalence, okay? Mm-hmm. Because she was diagnosed 8 years ago, 9 years ago?
8 years ago.
8 years ago. So I'm bad with dates. Okay, 8 years ago. So she's part of the prevalence, but she's not part of the incidence because she already had it. So.
And so we're looking typically with our cancer statistics, we're looking at number of cases per 100,000 people.
That's the metric.
Number of deaths per 100,000 people, and that will normalize for differences in population. Right. So in the U.S., we are still a majority white country. So if you just looked at the number of cases, you would say, oh man, all the white people are getting cancer, but no one else is. But if you normalize it over 100,000 people, then you start to see the trends in different groups, and that's really important. Okay. So overall cancer death rates have been going down. There's a couple reasons for that. We have some amazing new drugs. We have checkpoint inhibitors that are very, very effective with lung cancer, with melanoma, metastatic melanoma. So we're seeing good results with these new drugs that are coming out. And certainly I'm fortunate to have a blood cancer. Research on blood cancer is booming. It's easy to do because when you need a sample of the tumor, you just go grab a vial of blood from someone. And I'm happy. I participate in probably 4 or 5 different studies, and I give my blood all the time so that they can look at it.
She's been in clinical trials, and people that go into clinical trials, just like we did for the vaccination for the coronavirus, she did clinical trials for new approaches to cancer treatment. People that go in clinical trials are heroes, right? Because, well, you are, because you're putting yourself out there. There could be consequences, but by doing what she's done, then people that come down the pike behind her benefit from the knowledge gained from her unique clinical trial-based approach to therapy, all right? But the risk was reduced because the drug she was taking, out of the reports are like, these things are the bomb and so much better than chemotherapy.
Absolutely. So anyway, so our cancer death rates are going down. That's good. Keep going down. And I think from a risk standpoint, as you get older, and I am big because I have a cancer of the immune system that affects my body's ability to screen against second cancers. I'm pretty high risk. Like 30% of the patients who have my diagnosis will get a second cancer. We're at higher risk for lung. If I were male, higher risk for prostate. We're higher risk for breast cancer. We're higher risk for colorectal cancer. So I'm going to go get a colonoscopy in a week or two. I do it every 3 years now.
And why is that? What you don't realize is you guys are producing cancer cells in your body every single day. And so your immune system sniffs around and says, hey,
it kills it.
That doesn't look right. Boom, it kills it. Just like it does a virus and a bacteria. Okay. Guess what happens again? This is theory of aging. What happens to immune function as you get older? It goes down with age. So your surveillance goes down. And then if you have a cancerous immune system, then you're in trouble.
So when we look at this graph, it shows that lung, prostate, female breast, and colorectal cancers account for almost half of all cancer deaths in 2017. That might be different now because we're using more and more of those new drugs, the checkpoint inhibitors like Keytruda. However, think about it. You're going to do better in most cases if you get diagnosed early and treated early. So colorectal cancer, go get those colonoscopies when it's time. Female breast cancer, get your mammograms when it's time. Do self-exams. Prostate cancer, if something doesn't feel right down there,
at my age, I get what's called a prostate-specific antigen, a PSA.
So you get a blood test,
and you get your lungs. If you have high risk, something you always get your lungs checked out. And what's kind of remarkable about this, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 cancers that are making up 45% of all the cancers. There's over 100 different types of cancers, but these are the big ones right here.
So screening is very important. Early screening. My dad was just diagnosed with lung cancer, but diagnosed at stage 1 by accident. He has other health problems. He had a CT scan for the other health problems, and they picked up a small tumor in his lung, and he's had radiation, and he's probably going to be okay. So other things that we can do to decrease our risk of cancer and decrease our risk of recurrence of cancer. Physical activity, exercise is so important. We walk 5 miles a day. We swim in the evening. I'm trying to up my game because I gained some weight during my cancer treatment.
Well, it was a side effect of the drugs, and there's no free lunch with drugs that fight cancer. So.
There's a little more to love than there used to be, so I'm trying to slim down a little bit. So
I'd rather have a slightly overweight wife than a dead wife.
That's right. I always used to say to John, I'd rather be fat than dead.
That's right.
But now that I'm alive, I'd rather be not fat.
She lost a bunch of weight.
It's okay.
And the other thing that we do, and this is something you can do, is don't eat so many In-N-Out burgers, guys.
That's right.
You got to. The Mediterranean diet is key. You don't have to be exclusive, but you have to be smart about diet. Don't overnutrition. Meaning when you get your In-N-Out burger, don't get a double and those freaking animal fries and all that. Come on,
They're so good. Though.
All right, I know.
Oh, wait, go back up. So breast cancer, exercise has been shown to be important, not only in the prevention of breast cancer, but in the recurrence of breast cancer. So once you've been diagnosed and treated, you want to live a healthy life to try to reduce your risk of the cancer coming back. Endometrial cancer, which applies to women, and colorectal cancer.
And we're to the point now, too, you can get some really cool genetic screening for a lot of these cancers, too. So,
now you're in week, 4 or 5 of the semester, right. You're busy. So I'm starting to see reports that you can do micro workouts. So you're sitting at your desk, you're in front of your computer, you're studying, you're writing a paper, get up.
This is not a micro workout, okay? Doing this.
No, looking at social media is not. But get up and do a minute of heart pumping exercise. So we have a step in our house, and I'll do a minute of jumping up and down off that step just to get my heart rate up. And if you can do that a couple of times a day, it does show a pretty profound effect on your health.
Absolutely.
So go down.
All right.
Okay. Sadly, because in the pandemic, many of us turned to alcohol.
What?
What?
Yeah.
Yes, we have a glass of wine at night, and it has helped us get through. But I don't recommend it, and I'm gonna cut down soon.
But look at
But
bluezone.com. This is where people live to 100.
he keeps telling me it's okay.
They recommend 1 to 2 glasses every day.
So
just
anyway,
to
just don't
reduce
go
your stress
overboard.
hormones.
Don't go overboard. No
No
binge
binging.
drinking. Yes, no binging. So alcohol also contributes to increased cancer risk, particularly of the colon, the rectum, and the breast. So if you're worried about breast cancer, which is pretty common in women, I think over your lifespan, a woman has probably like a 1 in 7 chance of breast cancer. Exercise and drink less.
Yeah, and obviously if you have a family history, your risk goes up. So.
Okay.
All right,
So
cool.
now when we look at these trends, we're looking at the red lines and the blue lines. The red lines indicate an increase in the rates of new cancer cases, and this is broken down by men and women. The blue lines
and you see the time was 2012 to 2016.
So we're looking back now. Right. The blue lines indicate a decrease in the incidence of new cancer cases. So both men and women are seeing an increase in liver and intrahepatic bile duct cancer. Liver cancer tends to be related to obesity. It tends to be related to hepatitis. It tends to be related to things that we can do something about. So melanoma tends to be related to skin exposure. Sun exposure. Don't expose yourself to any skin, guys.
Part of our culture is, maybe we got to exercise more. We got to go outside and be outdoorsy, but if you got to wear your sunscreen.
Yes. Kidney cancer tends to be correlated with obesity, smoking. My dad has kidney cancer. He's obese and he smokes. Oral cavity and pharynx cancer tends to be related to HPV.
Hey, that's preventable.
It's preventable because we do have a vaccine against HPV that you can get. I believe the cutoff age is now about 26. So it's certainly something I encourage you to think about. We're seeing in other countries like Australia where they have rolled out the HPV vaccine and really made it readily available and encouraged people to get it, that they are seeing their rates of HPV-related cancers, which can be oral, it can be cervical, it can be anal, rectal cancers, all cancers we don't want to have. Their rates are going down, and they predict that they're going to continue to go down as more and more people get vaccinated. Because HPV is very common in the population. You don't have to be a bad person to get HPV. We have a couple relatives who are fairly young who've had cervical cancer in their 20s.
And I had a friend that got throat cancer.
Yes, a couple. Yeah. So anyway, we can see now that some of those top cancers are things that we can do something about to decrease risk. So there's going to be a lot of attention being paid from a public health standpoint. Right. We're seeing a decrease in the rate of lung cancer, probably due to a decrease in smoking. Of course, places like California, we haven't been able to smoke in public buildings and restaurants, et cetera, for a long time. But I can remember when people would get, any restaurant, everybody was lining up. I'm from New Orleans. People tend to smoke a little more in the South. So,
and you can see these rates right here. Let's go back to that. Women versus men,
Yeah.
Look at that. See? All right. So men tend to have a little more smoky than the women do. All right.
But they're decreasing. So now that our rates of cigarette smoking are going down, we're seeing that men are getting a pretty good benefit from that. Okay, now let's slide down a little bit more. Now we're going to look at cancer death rates, men versus women. Again, men are seeing an increase in death rates from HPV. So I think part of this is that when the HPV vaccine came out, I know we have 2 boys. Our boys were relatively young, and I went ahead and encouraged them to get the HPV vaccine because I figured, hey, even if it doesn't help you, it will help other people that you are sexually intimate with down the road. However, as it turned out, by the time my younger son got a little bit older, we were starting to see the data that showed that men were getting HPV-related cancers. So now it seems to be something that's a good idea for both men and women to get this vaccine. Let's see what else.
But look at the improvements here. See,
yeah,
so not only are we reducing the annual increase, which is the incidence, the new cases, but if you do get it, look at that, And
look at our big winners, our melanoma and lung cancer. Yeah. We're seeing big decreases in our death rates. My aunt passed away from lung cancer probably 15 years ago, and she at the time that she was diagnosed, there was a lot of treatment. She was diagnosed and died within probably 2 months. But now we have these incredible new drugs that really, really increase the life expectancy.
And this is if we look at all over 100 cancers, that's what all sites means.
So if we look at all sites, we're seeing a decrease. Now, here's where I get really fired up. If we look at our incidence cases
this is the increase during this period of the study. So 2012 to 2016.
Typically, the National Cancer Report will report non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic black, non-Hispanic Asian Pacific Islander, which is abbreviated API, non-Hispanic, I think it's American Indian, Alaskan Native, and excuse me, Hispanic. So if you look at it, the shorter the bar, the fewer cases there were. Now, case incidence can be, you go to the doctor right away when you're not feeling well. So if you have easy access to healthcare, you might get diagnosed a little bit faster, a little bit sooner, a little bit more often. Or it can mean that your group actually gets that cancer more often because of your diet or because of your lack of exercise and your health habits, et cetera. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to tease out which variable is affecting the cancer rates.
And again, this is per 100,000. This would be per 100,000 white people, per 100,000 black people, per 100,000 non-Hispanic Asian Pacific Islander. That's how you read these graphs. Okay?
Yes. So we see the numbers are low for Asian Pacific Islanders, and we hope that's because it's healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, something like that, and not that they're just not going to the doctor. But like I said, the statistics are a little bit confusing. We see that men tend to have a little bit higher rates than women, and that is believed to be because of smoking and occupational exposure. So go down a little bit more. Okay, and now here's where I get really fired up. Inequity in healthcare is a passion of mine. Access to the latest, greatest treatments. There's a lot of research out there that shows that if you go to a specialist, an expert in your cancer, you will live longer. So I drive to UC San Diego, and it just so happens when I was diagnosed, I checked out USC, but they didn't have a group that dealt with my specific fairly rare cancer. So it just so happened that UC San Diego did, so that's where I go for my care. And going to an expert means you have access to clinical trials. It means you have access to someone who knows how to manage side effects and complications. It means that you're going to get the latest, greatest treatments. So access to healthcare is key when we look at death rates. So if you look at the overall death rate, non-Hispanic Asian Pacific Islanders are the lowest. Hispanic is next. American Indian and Alaskan Natives are next. Non-Hispanic Blacks are the highest. So we're seeing
this both in terms of male and female.
Yes, so that trend is carried through. So what we're seeing is that go up just a tiny bit. Okay. So what we're seeing is that our two groups that have the highest death rates are non-Hispanic Black and non-Hispanic American Indian and Alaskan Native. And I think that could be due to a lack of access to good health care. And we do see with clinical trials that white people tend to participate more in clinical trials than do people of color. And so we've really got to work hard as a country to improve that access and participation of all different groups so that everybody's getting the good stuff. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, very cool. So when you're looking for answers to your quiz, okay, go to the What is Cancer site that I showed you earlier. This is a PDF file just in case the website's having trouble, okay? These are two videos that I highly encourage you to watch. I'm all visual all the time. And these animations really, one video, so this animation really spells out this concept of the two major components of cancer. And Julia can spell it out here. This is a real simple cartoon that explains what's going on here.
Okay, so we added this graphic a few years back because we have a quiz question, spoiler alert, that deals with oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. And we found that students weren't really understanding the concept of what goes on. So the difference between a proto-oncogene and an oncogene is the proto-oncogene gets mutated somehow. And then once it gets mutated, it's kind of putting the gas on the cancer
and it's an unfortunate
fertilizing
use
the
of
cancer
term.
to make it grow.
These are normal genes. Proto-oncogenes are our normal genes that allow us to produce new cells and to grow developmentally. I always feel it's an unfortunate term of art, proto-oncogene, because these are normal. When they mutate, then they become oncogenes.
Which then leads to cancer.
Right.
So your tumor suppressor genes, when they mutate, become inactivated. So in my cancer, and in a lot of cancers, we have a gene that's called P53, right. And that gene gets inactivated, and then people tend to have more cancer.
Yeah, and the goal of P53, the job it has, is to go in there and repair other mutations. So it is the surveillance protein that says, oh, there's a mutation. I'm going to excise it, repair the DNA, and then that'll help the cancer go away. And then when there's too much cancer, it will actually kill the cell off and say, you know what, you're no good. If you don't have that P53 working, you get more and more mutations and you won't kill off any cells.
Yeah, and so humans typically have 2 copies of P53. So you might have one inactivated and one that's still activated. You might have both inactivated. Elephants have some ridiculous number. It's like 35 copies of P53. So elephants don't get cancer. So
awesome?
It's kind of a fun fact about elephants.
Cool fact. All right.
Who doesn't like elephants?
As you know, you opened the quiz. I should have told you at the beginning, but you can know the drill by now. And so this is, and you just go back and forth with the material that we provided. Now, obviously, cancer is a very scary diagnosis. And so we thought it was appropriate to have the discussion. Well, you talk about grief, the grief that might happen when you have a friend or family member that dies of cancer. And it's also appropriate now because I'm sure a lot of you have had friends or family members that were affected by COVID-19. But this stages of grief, this is a real short video, okay? And then this was a longer video about the first person that was renowned for identifying it. That applies to not just death, So, if you lose a job, you're going to go through this stage of grief. Okay, it's called DABDA, denial, anger, bargaining, on and on.
Yes. So the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, despair, acceptance. And what I usually tell people is you're probably going to go through those stages. It may not be linear. It may not be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You may hop around a little bit. You may repeat the stages. My mom passed away suddenly. It'll be 3 years ago in November. And it was just a really, really difficult grieving process for me because we were really close and I talked to her all the time and we were really good friends, which is the awesome part about getting to be older. You can be friends with your parents. And I really appreciated her as a human being. One of the things I read said, your relationship doesn't end because the person is gone. Your relationship just changes because they're not physically present anymore.
So we're asking you right here to tell us about your experience with loss. It could be a breakup. You had a boyfriend, you had a girlfriend, significant other, and you have a bad breakup. You're going to go through that. When she got diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, we went through DABDA. It was scary, and you start doing the whole bargaining. Oh, please, make this go away, and you deny and everything, and then we've got into acceptance and okay, we're going to kick ass on this thing, So. So talk about this, it was your exposure, your experience. It doesn't have to be about death, and then we also have this disclaimer right here.
Some people have recently lost someone that they're really close to, like I was with my mom. And if you don't feel comfortable talking about loss or death right now, you don't have to. We can give you an alternative assignment. If you don't want to talk about examples from your own life, you can talk about a friend, you can talk about something you saw in a movie, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. The one thing I do like to say is that we all experience death. As you get older, it gets easier because you've gone through it more times and you've kind of learned how to, I don't want to say relax and go through it, but you've learned to kind of feel the feels, because the more you love someone, the more it hurts when they're gone. And that's okay.
The recent election, okay? A lot of you are still stuck in denial with Trump losing. Okay, you go through the whole DABDA thing with even something like that, where you get too close to it. Okay, that was supposed to be a joke. So. All right.
But anyway, so get in there and mix it up with the class.
Absolutely.
Share your experiences. If you have a unique cultural perspective, share that. We love to hear from
Right.
people who
Absolutely.
can tell us what things are like in their family or in their community or anything like that.
Very cool. Peace, guys. Fight on. All right, and we'll see you next time.